And look at me when I'm talking to you, bitch. Eyes up now. Officer Danny Matthews grabs Teresa Owens' chin and forces her face upward. She kneels on Atlanta's burning asphalt. Her designer blazer wilts in the heat. His grip leaves red marks on her jaw. Thought you were somebody important, huh? Look at you now. Pathetic. Danny spits on the pavement beside her knees. The saliva steams on hot concrete. He presses his boot against her shoulder, forcing her to struggle for balance. Stay exactly like this. Don't you fucking move. Recognition flashes between them. Those cold eyes. That voice dripped with practiced cruelty. Teresa remembers molding both 3 years ago at the police academy, teaching him to protect, to serve with honor. Sometimes your worst student becomes your most vicious predator. A smartphone captures his next move. Danny leans down until his mouth nearly touches her ear. Remember me now, Instructor Owens. Bet you're proud of your training. Power collapses. The teacher grovels before the student. Excellence kneels to corruption. Share this if accountability matters to you. Because what comes next will burn the system to the ground. 6 hours earlier, Teresa Owens adjusts the graduation cap on her kitchen counter. The black tassel catches morning sunlight streaming through her Buckhead townhouse windows. Emma's ceremony is 1 week away. Valedictorian of her class at Spelman College. Full scholarship to Harvard Law School starting in the fall. 23 years of sacrifice leading to this moment. Teresa's phone buzzes with congratulations from former colleagues. 3 federal commendations rest in frames above her coffee maker. The President's Award for Community Police Reform, the National Association of Police Training Excellence Medal, the Department of Justice Community Partnership Recognition. Photos show her shaking hands with mayors, police chiefs, senators, and attorney general nominees. Her current business cards read Director, Atlanta Community Safety Institute. She teaches de-escalation techniques to departments across the Southeast. Yesterday's workshop drew 200 officers from 12 counties. They call her the cop whisperer behind her back. She transforms aggressive rookies into community guardians. Departments compete for her consultation time. Her graduation rates from the Atlanta Police Academy remain legendary. 96% pass rate over 15 years. 0 officer-involved shootings from her graduates in their first 3 years of service. 0 excessive force complaints in year 1. The statistics made her untouchable, respected, valuable to a city desperate for reform. Every morning begins the same way. Black coffee in her favorite Howard University mug. CNN on low volume, reviewing case files from departments requesting consultation. Today's stack includes Birmingham, Jacksonville, Charlotte, Memphis. Cities desperate for her magic formula to transform their training programs. The secret isn't magic, it's patience, respect, psychology. Teaching young officers that power serves people, not the other way around. She breaks down the warrior mentality piece by piece, rebuilds it into a guardian mindset. Emma calls from campus. Her voice bubbles with excitement about graduation speakers, party plans, job interviews at civil rights firms. Teresa listens, stirring honey into her coffee, watching steam rise from the ceramic rim. These are the moments that matter. Family pride, generational progress, legacy. Teresa opens her laptop to prepare today's presentation for the City Council Public Safety Committee. Federal grant applications for community policing initiatives. $2.8 million in funding hangs in the balance. Money that could transform how Atlanta trains its future officers. Create a model program for the entire Southeast. She reviews her slides. Statistical breakdowns of her training methods. Before and after data from departments she's consulted. Testimonials from officers, community leaders, federal oversight officials. The presentation will secure the funding. She's never lost a grant application. Her phone vibrates against the granite countertop. Unknown number. She almost ignores it. Miss Owens, this is Sarah Wilson from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I need to speak with you urgently about an incident involving one of your former students. The coffee mug slips from Teresa's fingers. Hot liquid spreads across her presentation notes. The federal grant paperwork absorbs the brown stain like blood on concrete. Steam rises from the ruined documents. Every officer she trained carried a piece of her integrity into the world. She had no idea one of them was about to destroy it all. Teresa drives her silver Lexus through downtown Atlanta toward Emma's campus. The call from Sarah Wilson loops in her mind. Something about a former student. An incident. The journalist refused to provide details over the phone. Red and blue lights flash in her rearview mirror. She pulls into the empty parking lot of a shuttered grocery store. Check her speedometer. 35 in a 40 zone, hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. Registration and insurance in the glove compartment. She's done this dance before. Officer Danny Matthews approaches her driver's side window. His hand rests on his service weapon. Standard procedure. Nothing unusual yet. License and registration, he commands without introduction. Teresa reaches slowly for her purse. Of course, officer. May I ask why you stopped me? Did I ask you a question? Danny's voice cuts sharp. License and registration. Now. She hands over the documents. Danny examines them under the afternoon sun. His jaw tightens when he reads her name. Something flickers across his features. Recognition mixed with something darker. Step out of the vehicle. Officer, I don't understand why. Out, now. Teresa complies. Her heels click against hot asphalt. Danny circles her like a predator studying prey. Other cars pass by. None slow down to look. Turn around. Hands behind your back. Am I under arrest? What are the charges? You're resisting arrest. I'm not resisting anything. I'm asking legitimate questions. The handcuffs click around her wrists. Cold metal bites into her skin. Danny yanks her arms upward. Pain shoots through her shoulders. On your knees. This is unnecessary force. I've complied with I said get on your fucking knees. Teresa's legs buckle. The asphalt burns through her business slacks. Danny towers above her. His shadow blocks the sun from her face. Look at me when I'm talking to you, bitch. Eyes up, now. He grabs her chin. Forces her face upward. His grip leaves red marks on her jaw. Their eyes meet for the first time since the traffic stop began. Recognition hits both of them simultaneously. Danny's face transforms. The professional mask slips. Something uglier emerges underneath. Teresa sees the young recruit she trained 3 years ago, eager, respectful, hungry to serve his community with honor. This version of Danny Matthews carries none of that idealism. Well, well, well. Danny whispers. His voice drips with venom. Look what we have here, the famous Teresa Owens, the cop whispered to herself. A woman across the street raises her phone, starts recording. Danny notices but doesn't care. Thought you were somebody important, huh? Look at you now, pathetic. He spits on the pavement beside her knees. The saliva steams on hot concrete. Teresa's stomach lurches. The young man she shaped into an officer has become something monstrous. Stay exactly like this. Don't you fucking move. Danny presses his boot against her shoulder. Teresa struggles to maintain balance. Sweat beads on her forehead. The woman across the street continues filming. Her hands shake as she captures the humiliation. Remember me now, Instructor Owens? Danny leans down until his mouth nearly touches her ear. Bet you're proud of your training. Bet you tell everyone about your perfect graduation rates. Teresa's voice comes out as a whisper. Danny? What happened to you? His laugh sounds like breaking glass. You happened to me. You and your bullshit community policing. Your respect and dignity training. The real world doesn't work like your classroom, lady. The phone camera captures everything. Every word, every gesture, every moment of calculated cruelty. I learned different lessons than you taught. Better lessons. This city doesn't need guardians. It needs enforcers. Danny straightens up, adjusts his utility belt, checks his radio. As if nothing unusual occurred. As if destroying his former instructor's dignity was routine paperwork. The dash cam in his patrol car records the entire encounter from another angle. Digital evidence of institutional failure. Proof that training excellence can be weaponized against itself. Teresa remains on her knees. The asphalt burns her skin. Her wrists ache inside the handcuffs. The woman across the street lowers her phone and disappears around a corner. Danny returns to his patrol car. Leave her there, handcuffed, humiliated, abandoned. The lesson is complete. The video uploads at 3:47 p.m. Within 30 minutes, the footage spreads across Twitter like wildfire. #Teresa Owens trends nationally by 5:15 p.m. The caption reads, Atlanta cop forces black woman to kneel, then spits on ground next to her. The woman who filmed the incident, Keisha Washington, adds context in follow-up tweets. Professional-looking victim, designer suit, compliance with every command, unnecessary escalation, racist language, complete power abuse. By 6 p.m., the video reaches Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Influencers with millions of followers amplify the message. Civil rights organizations share and reshare. The footage accumulates views faster than Atlanta PD can coordinate a response. Emma Owens first sees her mother's humiliation during dinner with friends at Spelman's dining hall. Someone at the next table holds up their phone. Emma recognizes the voice before she sees the face. Her fork clatters onto the ceramic plate. "Oh my God, that's my mom!" The dining hall falls silent. 200 students turn to stare. Emma's hands shake as she watches Danny force her mother's face upward, watch him spit, watch him laugh. Her stomach empties itself in the nearest bathroom. She locks the stall door and calls Teresa's phone. No answer. Atlanta PD headquarters receives 400 calls within the first hour. The desk sergeant stops answering after the phone system crashes. Media trucks arrive before the official statement. Protesters gather on the front steps carrying signs reading, "Fire Danny Matthews" and "Teresa Owens deserves justice." Local news stations lead their evening broadcasts with the story. Channel 2's anchor describes the incident as shocking footage of apparent police misconduct in downtown Atlanta. Channel 5 runs a ticker. Viral video shows Atlanta officer humiliating black woman. Fox 5 interviews community leaders calling for immediate action. Teresa's Institute phone rings non-stop. Major donors express concern about continued funding. The Coca-Cola Foundation requests a meeting to reassess partnership opportunities. The Ford Foundation places their quarterly disbursement on hold pending review of recent developments. 3 scheduled workshops cancel without explanation. Social media analytics show devastating reach. The original video accumulated 2 million views in 6 hours. Retweets exceed 100,000. Comments pour in from across the country demanding accountability. #Justice for Teresa joins #Teresa Owens in trending topics. The internet doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms issues a brief statement at 8:30 p.m. "We are aware of the video circulating on social media. The matter is under investigation. Atlanta PD will conduct a thorough review of the incident." The statement satisfies nobody. Community activists organize emergency meetings. The NAACP announces plans for weekend protests. Black Lives Matter chapters coordinate solidarity demonstrations in 12 cities. Local churches schedule special prayer services. Danny Matthews' personal information spreads online within hours. His home address appears on Twitter. Photos of his house circulate on Instagram. Anonymous accounts share his wife's workplace information. Death threats flood his social media profiles before he deactivates them. Teresa finally returns home at 9:45 p.m. Media vans line her street. Reporters shout questions as she walks from her car to her front door. Camera flashes illuminate her exhausted face. She says nothing, keeps her head down, disappears inside her townhouse. Emma's car idles in the driveway. She drove straight from Spelman after seeing the video. Mother and daughter embrace in the kitchen where the morning began with graduation plans and federal grant preparations. Now those dreams feel impossibly distant. "How did this happen?" Emma whispers into Teresa's shoulder. "I don't know, baby. I really don't know." The doorbell rings continuously. Reporters camp outside. Neighbors peek through curtains. The normalcy of morning has been replaced by chaos. Teresa's carefully constructed life crumbles in real time. Her phone displays 47 missed calls. Colleagues, reporters, friends, activists, strangers. The voicemail inbox overflows. Text messages pile up faster than she can read them. Most offer support. Some blame her for not knowing her place. Others demand explanations she cannot provide. Atlanta PD releases an official statement at 11 p.m. Officer Matthews has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The department takes all allegations of misconduct seriously. We are committed to transparency and accountability. The statement mentions nothing about racism, nothing about excessive force, nothing about the humiliation captured on video, standard bureaucratic language designed to deflect rather than address. Community response explodes online. Civil rights attorneys offer their services. National media requests interviews. Congressional representatives tweet support. Celebrity activists amplify the message to their massive followings. Have you seen this pattern in your community? Share your stories in the comments below. The video continues spreading through the night. International news outlets pick up the story. Teresa Owens becomes a symbol, a hashtag, a rallying cry for police reform. Her private humiliation transforms into public resistance, but by midnight, the internet mob moves toward justice with incomplete information. They know what the video shows. They know it's wrong. They know someone must be held accountable. What they don't know is the deeper connection between victim and perpetrator. The institutional betrayal that makes this incident infinitely more devastating. The systematic failure that turned teacher against student. The community didn't know the full story yet. Sarah Wilson's investigation begins at 6 a.m. the next morning. She pulls Teresa Owens' personnel files from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution archives. 3 feature articles from 2019 to 2022, police reform advocate, training excellence awards, federal recognition ceremonies. The bylines tell a story of institutional success. Local trainer revolutionizes police academy. Atlanta's reform champion leads national initiative. Community policing pioneer wins presidential award. Sarah cross-references the dates with Atlanta PD graduation records. Teresa Owens supervised academy training from 2008 to 2021. Her classes produced over 800 officers. Danny Matthews graduated in March 2021 with Class 47B. The connection crystallizes in public records. Teresa's signature appears on Danny's training completion certificate. His evaluation forms carry her handwritten notes. Shows promise in community engagement. Responds well to de-escalation instruction. Recommended for patrol assignment. Sarah's phone buzzes at 7:30 a.m. Her editor demands an update on the viral video story. Local angle needed for morning edition. Sarah knows she has something bigger than a standard police misconduct piece. She calls the Atlanta Police Academy Registrar's office, confirms the trainer-student relationship, requests copies of Danny's complete training file. The registrar hesitates before agreeing to release non-confidential records. By 10 a.m., Sarah has the full picture. Danny Matthews spent 16 weeks under Teresa Owens' direct supervision, physical fitness, firearms training, constitutional law, community relations, de-escalation techniques, use of force protocols. Every class was designed to prevent exactly what happened yesterday afternoon. Sarah drafts her headline. Viral video victim actually trained the officer who humiliated her. The story goes live at 11:47 a.m. Social media explodes within minutes. The narrative transforms from simple police brutality to institutional betrayal. Teacher versus student. Excellence corrupted by power. The American dream inverted into a nightmare. #students-teacher trends alongside #Teresa Owens. Twitter users share the story with captions of disbelief. She trained him and he did this to her? This is what police reform gets you? The system is broken beyond repair. The irony amplifies outrage exponentially. This isn't random violence. This is targeted revenge. Danny Matthews didn't just abuse his power. He weaponized it against the woman who gave him that power in the first place. Cable news networks update their coverage immediately. CNN's afternoon panel discusses the stunning revelation. MSNBC runs a chyron. Officer trained by his victim. Fox News frames the story as evidence that police reform efforts have failed. National civil rights leaders weigh in throughout the afternoon. Reverend Al Sharpton tweets, "When students attack their teachers, the entire education system has failed." The ACLU's official statement calls the incident a grotesque betrayal of public trust and professional ethics. Teresa's Institute receives calls from reporters across the country. International media requests interviews. Documentary filmmakers reach out about potential projects. The story transcends local news cycles and enters cultural conversation. Emma Owens watches the coverage from her dorm room at Spelman. Her mother's professional accomplishments scroll across screen after screen. Award ceremonies, graduation speeches, federal recognition events. All of it now tainted by one student's cruelty. The power dynamic shifts in real time. Public sympathy flows toward Teresa. Danny Matthews transforms from authority figure to ungrateful apprentice. The narrative arc satisfies something primal about justice and consequence. Academy training videos surface online. Footage of Teresa instructing Danny's class about constitutional rights, community engagement principles, proper arrest procedures. The contrast between her teachings and his actions becomes inescapable. Respect every citizen you encounter. Teresa's voice echoes from a 2021 training session. Your badge represents their trust. Never abuse that sacred responsibility. Danny Matthews sits in the front row taking notes. The student became the master of cruelty. Atlanta PD leadership recognizes the escalating crisis. Chief Rodney Bryant schedules an emergency press conference for 5 p.m. The department must address questions about training oversight, quality control, how one of Teresa's students became so corrupted. Community activists organize outside police headquarters. Signs read, "Teresa taught better," and "Danny learned wrong." The protest takes on educational themes. Teachers and students join police reform advocates in demanding accountability. Local news stations interviewed Teresa's other former students. Officer Maria Gonzalez describes her as the most ethical trainer I ever encountered. Sergeant Kevin Williams credits Teresa with saving his career by teaching him proper community engagement. Detective Lisa Carter calls her a legend who cared about every single cadet. The testimonials create stark contrast with Danny Matthews' behavior. 99% of Teresa's students became model officers. Danny represents the catastrophic 1% failure rate. Social media users dig deeper into the timeline. When did Danny's training end? When did his misconduct begin? How long did the corruption take to develop? The questions multiply faster than answers emerge. Teresa's phone rings constantly. Interview requests from every major network, book deal inquiries, speaking engagement offers. The attention feels overwhelming rather than vindicating. Her private humiliation has become public fascination. By evening, the story reaches international news outlets. BBC runs a segment about American police training failures. Deutsche Welle analyzes systemic problems in U.S. law enforcement education. The incident became a global symbol of institutional breakdown. The original traffic stop video accumulated 5 million views. Sarah Wilson's follow-up story generates 2 million clicks. Social media engagement exceeds any local news story in Atlanta's recent history. The teacher-student angle creates narrative coherence that sustains public interest. Emma calls her mother at 9 p.m. "Mom, every news channel is showing your picture. Your training videos are everywhere. People are calling you a hero." "I don't feel like a hero, baby. I feel like a failure." "You didn't fail. He did." The distinction matters, but provides little comfort. Teresa trained 800 officers successfully. Danny Matthews represents her singular catastrophic failure, the one student who rejected everything she taught about dignity and service. But Sarah Wilson's investigation was just beginning. Sarah Wilson arrives at Atlanta Police Headquarters at 8 a.m. carrying 2 coffee cups and a stack of Freedom of Information Act requests. She's covered police misconduct for 12 years across 3 different newspapers. This story feels different, personal. The teacher-student angle creates narrative stakes that transcend typical brutality cases. The public records clerk, Janet Morrison, has processed Sarah's request for nearly a decade. Professional relationship built on mutual respect and shared appreciation for transparency. Janet knows which supervisors approve releases quickly and which ones create bureaucratic delays. "What are you digging for this time?" Janet asks, accepting the coffee offering. "Danny Matthews, complete personnel file, complaint history, training records, disciplinary actions, internal affairs investigations, use of force reports, everything you can legally release without a court order." Janet's expression shifts. The viral video made Matthews radioactive within the department. No one wants their name associated with his case file. Even administrative staff avoid discussing his assignments. This might take longer than usual. Sensitive materials require supervisor approval. Some documents might need redactions. Sarah nods, understanding. She's prepared to wait. The story demands thoroughness. She settles into the courthouse basement conference room with her laptop and legal pads. 2 hours later, Janet returns with a manila folder thick enough to surprise both women. Danny Matthews' personnel file spans 47 pages. For a 3-year officer, that volume signals serious problems. Sarah spreads the documents across a conference table. The pattern emerges immediately and devastatingly. 8 formal complaints in 36 months of service, excessive force against Marcus Thompson, age 19, during routine traffic stop, racial profiling documented by 3 different complainants in the Bankhead neighborhood, verbal harassment of Latina women during routine encounters on Buford Highway, intimidation tactics against teenage black males near MARTA stations, property damage during arrests in East Atlanta, sexual harassment of female suspects in holding cells, failure to follow proper procedures during domestic violence calls, abuse of authority during mental health crisis interventions. Every single complaint cleared by Internal Affairs Review. The clearance memos follow identical templates written by the same investigating officers. Insufficient evidence to sustain allegations against Officer Matthews. The complainant failed to provide credible testimony corroborating misconduct. Officer Matthews' actions fell within departmental guidelines and training protocols. No policy violations identified during investigation. Sarah photographs each document with her phone. The systematic protection becomes undeniable. Danny Matthews operated with complete institutional immunity while terrorizing Atlanta's most vulnerable communities. She cross-references the complaint dates with Atlanta PD leadership changes. Captain Robert Williams supervised internal affairs during 6 of the 8 investigations. Detective Sarah Morrison handled witness interviews for 5 cases. Sergeant Michael Jackson reviewed use of force determinations for 4 incidents. Lieutenant David Brown signed off on final clearance decisions for 7 complaints. The same names appear repeatedly across different cases. The same conclusions reached consistently despite varying evidence. The same officer is protected systematically by the same institutional network. Sarah drives across town to the federal building downtown. The Department of Justice Community Relations Service maintains regional offices in major cities. Atlanta's office oversees police reform initiatives across the Southeast. They would have oversight responsibility for any federal grants to Atlanta PD. Special Agent Catherine Carter reviews Sarah's questions about COPS grant funding. Federal regulations require strict reporting on officer misconduct and training effectiveness. Departments receive money based on demonstrated success with community policing initiatives. I can't comment on specific investigations, Agent Carter explains, but grant recipients must maintain compliance with federal guidelines. Misrepresentation of performance metrics constitutes serious fraud. Sarah requests copies of Atlanta PD's grant applications and compliance reports, public documents available through federal FOIA procedures. Agent Carter agrees to process the request expeditiously given public interest in the case. By 3:30 p.m., Sarah has assembled a comprehensive timeline. She drives to Teresa's townhouse in Buckhead. Media trucks still line the street, but fewer reporters remain. The initial frenzy has settled into sustained coverage that will continue for weeks. Teresa answers her door wearing reading glasses and holding Emma's graduation program. The kitchen table displays law school acceptance letters and scholarship award notifications. Normal family planning interrupted by institutional crisis. Miss Owens, I'm Sarah Wilson from the Journal-Constitution. We spoke yesterday. I've uncovered information about Danny Matthews that you need to see immediately. Teresa invites her inside. They sit at the granite table where the morning began with coffee and federal grant preparations. The spilled documents remain stacked in a corner, pages warped from dried liquid like evidence of prophetic disaster. Sarah spreads Danny's complaint history across the surface. Teresa's face transforms as she processes the information. Professional confidence turns to confusion, turns to horror, turns to rage. 8 complaints in 3 years? Teresa's voice barely whispers. How is that possible? How did I not know about this? All cleared by Internal Affairs. Pattern protection. Systematic cover-up coordinated by the same investigating officers. Teresa examines the specific allegations with forensic attention. Each incident describes behavior that violates everything she taught about community engagement. De-escalation techniques ignored. Constitutional rights trampled. Human dignity discarded. Professional ethics abandoned. I trained him personally in every one of these situations. Traffic stops, mental health crises, domestic violence calls, community engagement. These reports describe the opposite of everything I spent 16 weeks teaching him. Sarah produces additional documents from her briefcase. Federal grant applications spanning 3 years. Atlanta PD received $2.8 million in community-oriented policing services funding based on demonstrated training excellence and officer conduct improvements. The COPS grant application lists Teresa Owens as lead training coordinator. Her stellar graduation rates and 0 complaint records for first-year officers justified the federal funding. Atlanta PD marketed Teresa's program as a national model for police reform worthy of replication across other departments. They used your reputation to secure federal money, Sarah explains. Your training success became their financial success while they systematically protected officers who violated everything you taught. Teresa studies the grant paperwork with growing comprehension. Her signature appears on multiple documents as training coordinator. Performance metrics highlight her achievements. 0 excessive force complaints from officers completing her program within their first year. 96% graduation rates. Community satisfaction scores above national averages. Reduced citizen complaints department-wide. The numbers tell one story of institutional success. Danny Matthews' personnel file tells another story of systematic protection enabling repeated misconduct. How did they hide his complaints from federal oversight? Teresa asks. Sarah produces internal affairs processing timelines and federal reporting schedules. Danny's violations were systematically delayed and dismissed after federal grant reporting periods ended. Grant renewals submitted before complaint investigations concluded. The timing appears coordinated to prevent federal officials from discovering the pattern. They manipulated the reporting calendar. Your clean training record justified continued funding while they protected problem officers through procedural delays. Emma arrives home from Spelman as Sarah explains the federal grant connection. She listens from the kitchen doorway as the conspiracy unfolds in real time. Her mother's professional excellence weaponized against accountability. Her training program used as cover for systematic misconduct. Mom, they didn't just betray you personally. They betrayed everyone who trusted the system to work. They stole federal money meant for police reform. Sarah's phone rings. Her editor demands immediate updates for tomorrow's front-page story. The investigation keeps expanding beyond simple police brutality into institutional fraud involving federal funds, grant manipulation, systematic cover-ups, training program exploitation. I need to verify these documents with federal oversight officials, Sarah explains. Department of Justice Office of Inspector General, congressional committees that approve the funding, federal prosecutors who handle grant fraud cases. She gathers the paperwork and heads toward the door. This story is bigger than Danny Matthews abusing one citizen. This is about how the entire system protects bad officers while exploiting good trainers to steal federal money. Teresa walks Sarah to her car past remaining media vehicles. Protesters have shifted from her townhouse to police headquarters where they demand Danny's immediate arrest and federal investigation. The neighborhood feels quieter but not peaceful. Too many questions remain unanswered. Why didn't I see this pattern? Teresa asks. How did I miss the warning signs during training? How did I fail so completely? Because they hid the signs from you. Systematically, intentionally. You weren't supposed to know about his misconduct because that knowledge would have compromised their federal funding scheme. Sarah's investigation continues through the evening. She contacts federal oversight agencies in Washington, files additional FOIA requests for COPS grant compliance audits, requests interviews with congressional staffers who oversee police reform funding. Federal officials express measured concern but avoid specific comments about ongoing investigations. All grant recipients must maintain compliance with federal guidelines, a DOJ spokesperson states carefully. We take allegations of misrepresentation very seriously and investigate thoroughly. By midnight, Sarah has assembled a comprehensive picture of institutional failure operating across multiple levels of government. Danny Matthews represents more than one bad cop protected by local corruption. He represents systematic fraud that enabled repeated misconduct, while federal money flowed based on deliberately falsified performance metrics. The federal grant renewal application sits on someone's desk in Washington, D.C. $2.8 million in continued funding depends on Atlanta PD's reported success with community policing initiatives. Success built on Teresa Owens' reputation while Danny Matthews terrorized citizens with complete immunity from accountability. Sarah types her follow-up story headline, Atlanta PD secured $2.80 million federal grant using training success while systematically hiding officer misconduct. The receipts keep stacking higher. The pattern becomes undeniable. The money trail leads directly toward the nation's capital. They didn't just betray Teresa. They betrayed the badge itself. The counterattack begins 48 hours after Sarah Wilson's investigation goes public. Danny Matthews receives a promotion. The announcement appears on Atlanta PD's internal bulletin board Thursday morning. Officer Danny Matthews was elevated to senior patrol officer effective immediately. Salary increase, additional responsibilities, commendation for outstanding service under difficult circumstances. The timing is not coincidental. Police Union President Marcus Rodriguez holds a press conference at 2 p.m. He stands behind a podium decorated with blue line flags and speaks directly into television cameras. Officer Matthews is a dedicated public servant who has been unfairly vilified by social media vigilantes. The individual in question was non-compliant and created a dangerous situation. Our officer exercised appropriate authority to maintain public safety. The press conference reframes Teresa as the aggressor. Non-compliant. Dangerous, threatening. The victim becomes the perpetrator through institutional sleight of hand. Meanwhile, Teresa faces her own investigation. Atlanta PD Professional Standards Division announces a formal review of Teresa's training methods. Captain Williams, the same officer who cleared Danny's 8 complaints, will lead the investigation into Teresa's inadequate preparation of academy graduates. Teresa receives formal notification Thursday evening. She is prohibited from Atlanta PD property during the investigation. Cannot contact current or former academy students. Cannot access training materials. Her consulting contracts with other departments are suspended pending resolution. The restraining order isolates her completely from her professional network. Emma faces harassment at Spelman College Thursday night. Anonymous social media accounts target her with racist messages. Campus security increases patrols after someone spray paints "cop lover" across her residence hall entrance. Emma calls Teresa at midnight, voice shaking. "Mom, I'm scared to leave my room." "Pack a bag, baby, come home." Friday morning brings an IRS audit notice. The Atlanta Community Safety Institute faces immediate financial review. Anonymous tip alleged tax violations. Federal agents will arrive Monday morning. Bank accounts frozen. Operating funds inaccessible. Teresa's institute employs 12 community advocates. The audit threatens their livelihoods based on fabricated allegations. Major donors distance themselves immediately. The Coca-Cola Foundation withdraws funding. Ford Foundation places grants on hold. Local philanthropists cancel meetings. Teresa's mortgage payment bounces Friday afternoon. 3 months of lost consulting income depleted her savings. The bank issues foreclosure warnings. Her Buckhead townhouse faces immediate seizure. Former colleagues abandon her publicly. Police chiefs who previously praised her methods issue statements distancing their departments from Teresa's questionable methodologies. Academy instructors she mentored refuse phone calls. Chief Rodney Bryant appears on Channel 2 News Friday evening. Miss Owens's training approaches may have been too permissive for modern policing realities. We're reviewing all academy curricula to ensure proper officer preparation. The betrayal cuts deeper than Danny's boot against her shoulder. Saturday morning brings Danny's television interview. Channel 5 provides an unchallenged platform for his defense. He appears in dress uniform, medals visible, surrounded by American flags. "I'm not racist. I treat everyone equally according to law. Miss Owens was non-compliant and created a dangerous situation. I followed my training to maintain control." The interviewer nods sympathetically. "You've faced death threats since this went viral." "My family lives in fear. Social media mobs published our address. We've received hundreds of threats from people who don't know the truth." Danny's wife appears beside him, dabbing tears. Their children play in the background. The visual narrative transforms him from aggressor to victim within 30 minutes. "Miss Owens failed me as a trainer. She taught unrealistic methods that don't work on dangerous streets. Her community policing philosophy creates weaknesses that criminals exploit." The interview generated supportive responses from law enforcement communities nationwide. #We Stand With Danny trends among police families. Fundraising campaigns for Danny's defense raised thousands within hours. Sunday brings financial devastation. Teresa's bank flags her accounts for suspicious activity. The IRS audit triggered automatic holds. Credit cards canceled. Business accounts frozen. Personal checking is inaccessible. 23 years of financial stability evaporated in one weekend. Atlanta PD issued a statement Sunday evening. Following thorough review, we found no policy violations in Officer Matthews' conduct. He has been commended for professionalism under difficult circumstances. Protesters organize outside Teresa's neighborhood. Not supporters, opponents. Police families carrying signs reading, "Teresa Owens trained criminals" and "Support our cops." They didn't just want her silent. They wanted her erased from existence. But they made one critical mistake. They underestimated a teacher's network. Teresa sits in her darkened living room at 3 a.m. Monday morning. The foreclosure notice rests beside her laptop. Microsoft Word displays a half-finished resignation letter from all community safety work. After careful consideration, I am stepping down from police reform activities immediately. Recent events have demonstrated my inability to adequately prepare officers for their duties. Her cursor blinks after the period. 23 years reduced to corporate surrender. Emma hasn't left her bedroom in 3 days. She transferred classes online after campus harassment escalated. Students filmed her walking to the library, posting videos mocking her mother's police training failure. The Spellman administration offered counseling but couldn't guarantee safety. The house feels tomb-like. No colleague calls, no consulting opportunities. The media storm moved elsewhere, leaving only wreckage. Teresa's blood pressure medication sits beside empty wine bottles on the kitchen counter. Stress-induced migraines began Thursday and haven't subsided. Her hands shake when she thinks no one is watching. Her appetite disappeared. "Mom, you need to eat something," Emma pleads from the doorway. "I'm not hungry, baby. You haven't eaten in 2 days." Teresa closes the laptop without saving the resignation letter. She cannot complete the surrender, but she cannot imagine fighting back either. The mailbox overflows with foreclosure documents and IRS notices. Neighbors avoid eye contact. The Buckhead Community Association received complaints about political disruption in their peaceful neighborhood. Teresa drives to Danny's precinct at sunset. She parks across the street and watches officers end their shifts, young faces carrying authority into Atlanta's communities. Some trained under her supervision. How many became monsters she never knew about? Painful flashbacks consume her evening. Danny Matthews raising his hand during academy instruction about respectful citizen engagement, his eager questions about community policing strategies, his graduation speech thanking instructors for preparing us to serve with honor. The young man who absorbed her teachings about dignity grew into someone who forced her to kneel on burning asphalt. "Where did I fail?" Teresa whispers to her reflection. 800 successful graduates cannot offset one catastrophic failure. Danny represents the singular exception that destroys 23 years of excellence. Bank representatives call hourly about mortgage payments. Credit card companies demand settlement. The IRS schedules asset seizure next week. Teresa's financial foundation crumbles faster than her reputation. Emma finds her mother crying in the garage at midnight, surrounded by boxes of police academy memorabilia. Graduation photos, commendation letters, thank you cards from officers whose careers she launched. "I believed I was building something important," Teresa says through tears. "Something that would make communities safer." "You did build something important. One bad student doesn't erase 800 good ones." But he's the only one that matters now. They sit on the concrete floor, leaning against boxes containing decades of professional achievement, rendered meaningless by one viral video. "What if I just walk away?" Teresa asks. "Disappear. Change my name. Start over somewhere nobody knows about Atlanta. Is that what you want? I want my life back. I want my daughter to be safe. I want to stop being a symbol of failure." The garage falls silent except for distant highway traffic. 2 women destroyed by institutional betrayal. 2 lives upended by systematic corruption. Teresa's phone sits silent. No supportive calls. No solidarity messages. The community she served abandoned her when she needed them most. "Stay with me through this darkness. The dawn that's coming will blind the corrupt." Emma's voice cuts through the despair. "Mom, someone's calling." The screen displays Sarah Wilson's number, the journalist who exposed the conspiracy. "Don't answer it," Teresa says. "I'm done with reporters." But Emma reaches for the phone anyway. Then someone unexpected stepped forward. "Miss Owens, this is Sarah Wilson. Check your email immediately." Emma puts the call on speaker. Teresa's laptop opens to Sarah's message with a video attachment labeled "Urgent, Danny Matthews private recording." Danny Matthews appears in the police break room. His voice carries clearly through laptop speakers. Other officers laugh in the background. You should have seen her face when I made her kneel. The great Teresa Owens, down where she belongs. Fucking bitch thought she was better than us. Danny drinks from his coffee cup. Community policing, de-escalation, all that liberal bullshit she taught us. I showed her how real police work gets done. Officer Kevin Wilson appears on camera. Wasn't she your instructor? Best thing that happened to me. Taught me exactly what not to do. These people only understand force. The recording continues for 3 minutes. Danny mocks Teresa's methods, describes her humiliation in graphic detail, brags about his promotion. Emma's hands shake as the video ends. This changes everything. Within hours, the video spreads across social media. #Danny exposed trends alongside #Justice for Teresa. The recording provides definitive proof of Danny's racism and institutional protection. Emma makes a decision that transforms everything. She drives to Spelman College Tuesday morning and requests emergency assembly time. The auditorium fills with 800 students. Emma walks to the podium without prepared remarks. My mother taught police officers to protect communities with dignity. She spent 23 years building something beautiful. One student destroyed it in 5 minutes. The auditorium falls silent. But that student doesn't represent her life's work. 800 other officers do. 800 officers serving communities because my mother taught them that badge means service, not supremacy. Emma's voice rises with conviction. My mother is not responsible for Danny Matthews' choices. She's responsible for 800 officers who choose differently every day. The audience erupts in standing ovation. Students film and post immediately. #Emma Strong joins trending topics. Videos of Teresa's former students defending her surface Tuesday. Officer Maria Gonzalez credits Teresa's training with preventing violence. Detective Kevin Williams calls her constitutional instruction life-changing. 23 officers release a joint statement. We stand with our teacher. Community organizations mobilize Wednesday. Black Lives Matter organizes a We Support Teresa rally. The NAACP sponsors solidarity events in 12 cities. Church leaders schedule prayer services. Federal agents arrive Wednesday afternoon. Special Agent Catherine Carter establishes a field office downtown. FBI agent Robert Martinez joins the investigation. Treasury Department reviews grant compliance. Anonymous sources confirm multiple agencies coordinate the investigation. This goes beyond one bad officer. We're examining systemic corruption. Community fundraising explodes Wednesday evening. GoFundMe raised $50,000 in 24 hours. Local businesses offer free services. Attorneys volunteer representation. Emma returns home to find Teresa sitting upright for the first time in days. Color returns to her face. The resignation letter is deleted. I watched your speech. I'm so proud. I learned from the best teacher. Teresa's phone buzzes with supporter calls. Former colleagues apologize. Community leaders request meetings. Reform organizations offer partnerships. Thursday morning brings the transformative call. Agent Carter's voice carries federal authority. Miss Owens, we need to meet immediately. What we've discovered goes beyond Danny Matthews. This involves nationwide federal grant fraud. When you attack one teacher, you declare war on every student who believes in justice. Special Agent Catherine Carter sits across from Teresa in a federal building conference room. FBI agent Robert Martinez spreads documents on the table. Treasury agent Sarah Williams opens a laptop displaying financial spreadsheets. Miss Owens, what we're about to show you extends far beyond Atlanta. Danny Matthews is part of a systematic federal fraud scheme involving 12 cities across the Southeast. Teresa studies their faces. I don't understand. Agent Carter produces a thick folder labeled Operation Training Ground. Inside are grant applications and financial audits spanning 3 years. Your training reputation was weaponized to secure federal funding across multiple jurisdictions. Departments used your credentials to justify $45 million in community-oriented policing services grants. The spreadsheet displays cities Teresa never visited. Birmingham, Jacksonville, Charlotte, Memphis. All claimed partnerships with her institute. All received federal grants based on her documented success. I would know about consulting contracts that large. Agent Martinez opens his laptop to audio recordings. We've been conducting wiretap surveillance. These conversations occurred in Atlanta PD headquarters. Training Commander Harrison's voice plays clearly. The Teresa Owens angle is perfect. Feds love her statistics. We copy her numbers across partner cities. Easiest money we'll ever steal. Captain Williams responds. How long before someone notices? Never. Each department files separately. Federal oversight doesn't cross-reference jurisdictions. Teresa's hands tremble as the recording continues. Danny Matthews is our insurance policy. If Owens gets suspicious, we've got dirt on her graduate. Makes her look incompetent if she causes problems. Agent Carter pauses the audio. Danny wasn't protected despite his misconduct. He was protected because of it. His complaints provided leverage against you. The scope overwhelms Teresa. Her reputation used to justify systematic theft of federal money intended for police reform. Agent Williams displays financial records. The conspiracy generated personal wealth for participants. Harrison purchased an $800,000 lake house. Williams bought a luxury yacht. Morrison acquired 3 rental properties, all purchased with federal grant money. They used your institute's tax identification number to establish shell companies, professional services group, community training solutions, all fake organizations billing federal grants for services never provided. Teresa examines purchase receipts. Harrison's boat, Williams's vacation home, Morrison's investments, Jackson's sports cars. The corruption enriched an entire network. Agent Martinez plays additional recordings. Meeting transcripts reveal coordination across multiple states, police executives sharing Teresa's materials without permission. Grant applications copying her curriculum verbatim. Your reputation is unassailable. Federal oversight accepts applications claiming your involvement without verification. Your record provides perfect cover for systematic fraud. The final recording destroys remaining illusions. Harrison discusses contingency plans. If the federal investigation gets close, we blame Teresa Owens, claim she was the mastermind, plant evidence in her files. She goes to prison, we walk clean. Teresa's 23 years of excellence transformed into a weapon against reform itself. Her training success used to justify funding departments that rejected everything she represented. Agent Carter closes the folder. We need your cooperation to expose this conspiracy. Your testimony is essential for federal prosecution. What about Danny Matthews? He's the smallest fish in a very large pond. This investigation targets the people who protected him while stealing millions in your name. Oh. Teresa stares at financial spreadsheets displaying systematic theft. Her life's work corrupted beyond recognition. They didn't just steal money and manufacture monsters. They turned training into terrorism. The Atlanta City Council emergency session convenes Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Over 2,000 people pack the auditorium. Overflow crowds watch live streams in adjacent rooms. Federal agents occupy reserved seating. Teresa enters to a thunderous standing ovation lasting 3 minutes. Danny Matthews sits in the front row, flanked by union attorneys. His confidence has evaporated. Council President Maria Gonzalez calls for order. This hearing addresses systematic corruption within the Atlanta Police Department and federal grant fraud. Giant screens display evidence as Agent Carter presents federal findings. Wiretapped conversations play through speakers. Harrison's voice echoes, "Easiest money we'll ever steal." The audience gasps when financial records appear. Harrison's lake house, Williams' yacht, Morrison's rental properties, all purchased with stolen federal money. Teresa approaches the microphone with quiet dignity. I spent 23 years teaching officers to serve with honor. These individuals corrupted my life's work to steal federal money while protecting officers who violated everything I taught. She presents training records showing systematic falsification, grant applications claiming her involvement in departments she never visited. They didn't just betray my trust. They betrayed every community that trusted police reform efforts. Federal marshals enter during testimony. They approach Training Commander Harrison. Agent Martinez reads arrest warrants audibly. Michael Harrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit federal grant fraud and civil rights violations. Handcuffs click around Harrison's wrists as cameras capture everything. The auditorium explodes in cheers. Agents arrest Captain Williams and Detective Morrison simultaneously. Danny's supervisor, Sergeant Jackson, breaks under pressure. He approaches the microphone without attorney permission. I can't do this anymore. We protected Danny because Harrison ordered it. The complaints were real. We buried everything to maintain clean statistics for federal grants. Jackson's confession streams live to 50,000 viewers. He details the systematic cover-up, names involved officers, describes financial kickbacks for investigators who cleared complaints. Community members testify about Danny's misconduct. 23 citizens describe 3 years of abuse. Each story corroborates federal evidence. Teresa's former students testify about her actual methods. Officer Rodriguez explains how Teresa's techniques prevented violence. Detective Wilson credits her constitutional instruction with transforming his policing approach. The contrast becomes inescapable. Teresa trained hundreds of exemplary officers. The conspiracy protected one who rejected everything she taught. Councilmember Davis reads the resolution. Based on federal evidence, this council unanimously removes all training division leadership. Federal oversight will govern Atlanta PD training pending prosecutions. The vote is unanimous. Complete institutional repudiation. President Gonzalez addresses Teresa directly. Miss Owens, Atlanta owes you an apology. Your reputation has been vindicated completely. The city requests your consultation on rebuilding training programs. Teresa stands before the microphone for the final time. Real training builds character. Fake training builds criminals. The difference is a teacher's willingness to expose corruption even when it costs everything. The auditorium erupts in sustained applause. Teresa's vindication is complete. The conspiracy lies exposed. Today, the teacher will teach the lesson. Justice graduates summa cum laude. 6 months later, the consequences reshape Atlanta's police landscape completely. Danny Matthews faces federal civil rights charges carrying 5 years in prison. He's banned from law enforcement permanently. Multiple civil lawsuits seek $5 million in damages. His promotion has been rescinded, his pension forfeited. Training Commander Harrison receives a 4-year federal sentence for grant fraud conspiracy. Captain Williams faces 3 years for money laundering. Detective Morrison forfeits his rental properties to federal asset forfeiture. Sergeant Jackson cooperates with prosecutors in exchange for reduced charges. The federal investigation expands nationwide. 12 cities lose COPS grant funding. Congressional hearings examine systematic fraud in police reform programs. New oversight requirements govern all federal law enforcement grants. Teresa's vindication transforms her from local trainer to national reform symbol. The Department of Justice appoints her to the National Police Training Standards Commission. Her institute receives emergency federal funding to rebuild. Major universities request her curriculum development. Emma delivers her Spelman valedictorian speech about courage, justice, and institutional accountability. She begins Harvard Law School in the fall, planning a civil rights career inspired by her mother's resilience. Atlanta establishes an independent civilian training oversight board. Community input becomes mandatory for all academy curricula. Federal monitors ensure compliance with reform standards. Teresa consults on the new programs designed to prevent future corruption. The teacher-student dynamic that began this story completes its arc. Excellence triumphs over corruption. Accountability conquers protection. Truth defeats systematic lies. Sometimes your worst student becomes your biggest teacher, but not in the way they intended. Teresa's final lesson echoes across police academies nationwide. Real training builds character. Fake training destroys communities. The difference is a teacher's refusal to be silenced by those who profit from darkness. If this story moved you, share it with others who believe accountability matters. Real change requires real awareness of how systems protect corruption while destroying those who fight for justice. Subscribe to stay informed about stories where truth defeats power, where teachers triumph over institutional betrayal, and where communities unite to demand the police reform they deserve. Justice won today because people refuse to stay silent.